All right, we are live. Market is it's down a pretty significant amount right now. Um, we we've got a lot of stuff dropping. I'm just kind of looking all over the board right now. Um, I mean, this could be a day, guys. This is getting pretty ugly. I know we're not down very far, and the volume is still relatively not as high. But there's a lot of things coming down that are not ideal to come down. Let's just jump right into this. So we've got Apple down two and yeah, alerts. Apple down 2.5%, Microsoft down 2.8, Google 3, Amazon 4%, Tesla almost 10%, Facebook 3%, Nvidia 5%. I mean, you can see everything's turning red. It's just not looking great. And then you can see in our weighted sectors where we're really selling off. So um it's just not looking good. Bitcoin's coming back down to that level that we've tracked, and it doesn't look good this time, to be honest. I'm not a buyer right here. Morning, Trent. So let's take a peek at the market so far today. We opened up towards inside yesterday's range towards the low of Globex. Really didn't get any counter auction, even though that inventory was pretty much 100% net short. No surprise there, as we kind of expected to get below this 42.45. We wanted to establish below here and then continue to the opposite side of value, right? That was the kind of the trade that we were looking for today. We're almost there to our target. um and we can kind of expect as we get down here a little bit to find some possible responsive buyers, and then some shorter term money, like myself and probably most of you guys, that's taking profit, short covering, right? um It'll just matter on the re-offer, and right now they're trying to sell the 12.50. But other than that, excuse me, other than that, they're not really there's nothing really too crazy going on in the market. Not that not that I'm seeing, other than that, just I mean, stuff's just getting a smackarooski, right? If we take a peek at the Fang right here, I mean, this isn't even doing us justice here. Just Twitter. Yeah, Twitter's getting cracked. Look at Tesla. I mean, head to the daily real quick. And so, just to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday, basically Elon took a loan out against his shares. So you guys know how net worth works, right? Your net worth is based off of your total assets, right? Not your liquid assets, not like how much money you have in your pocket or in the bank. It's how much you are worth. Like, so if you sold all your cars, all your houses, all your shit, your shares, like everything that you have, how much would you be worth, right? And so basically he's taking a loan out against some of his Tesla shares. So, there's speculation that a possible, it depends where the loan's at, with the it depends on a lot of stipulations of the loan, which he probably hasn't um offered out, because it's not anyone's information or anyone's like, it's his personal information, so he doesn't really need to. um but there could be a margin call, right? So imagine if you take a loan against your shares, and you took a loan against your shares when they were $1,000, and now they're $800. Well, someone's like, well, hey, this is a lot less, and especially when it's, was it like $17 billion or something crazy? I mean, it was a lot. So if $17 billion coming down $100 or $200, well, about $100 so far, it's gonna change the tone of the bank that's willing to lend him this money, right? So they could be, they could be like, hey, we want that money back, and he would have to start selling his Tesla shares to pay this loan back. So he's going to take a loss on the Tesla shares, take a loss on the loan, and Tesla's going to go down because he's going to be selling a fuckload of shares, right? I'm not saying that's what is going to happen, but that's just something that we need to look out for, and that could be the black swan, right? And I'm actually reading this book called The Black Swan. That's a pretty interesting book. Very, uh, very, it's very like, you know, out there, like just from a different perspective than most of the books that I've read. It's an interesting book, but you know, that's what could definitely be happening, and we've definitely got to be paying attention to something like that, because that definitely could be a black swan. You've got the richest guy in the world, and then boom, if he has to get a margin call, he starts selling Tesla. I mean, it just could get bad quick, you know. And so we just got to be careful for that. Martin, do I watch the cash index? Like the SPX and stuff. Yeah, I look at the SPX. Probably the last time we looked at it was back here, but yeah, I mostly watch the SPY. And we can, I mean, it's the same as this though. This is the ES. It's the futures for the SPY. They're correlated. They track. I mean, they're the same pretty much actually. Just the SPX. Like so, if we go to the SPX real quick, you can see because the index, right, we're 42.16 right here, 42.11, and if we pull this up, on the ES on our trade tab, you can actually see move at all. I think our swim is like close sometimes. There we go. So you can actually see that the futures contracts, they're getting a little bit closer. They were ahead, so you can see how this one December contract is actually up at 42.27. So kind of projecting that December's futures are going to be higher, and September's as well. But then they start to come down, and then next June they're about the same. And if we look at the options chain, somebody took a big trade out here October, or was this December 2024, a pretty low trade, which was probably a hedge or something, but pretty low trade out there. So we've got single prints here above two spots, right? So we can just assume that, you know, the market did get a little bit too long yesterday. It rallied on weak hands and now is liquidating. Right, so now that we're back inside yesterday's value, what we're looking for is, are these responsive buyers where we saw them yesterday? Really, we saw them, we saw a lot of responsive buyers from like the 10 to like the, I think our level below is like 97. Um, but are they going to value this space again, right? Pretty wide value area, which shows pretty big trade facilitation. Um, and you know, we're kind of just monitoring how much liquidation, or are these buyers going to step back in that stepped in yesterday, right? Yeah, it was 97 quarter. Yeah, and then the prior day low is right in the middle of that level. So what contract month do you watch? Right now we are on the M contract, so it's a June expiry. Hey double R, what's up, man? Hey double R, I got your trade stuff yesterday too. Well, I probably got it earlier than that. I just haven't had a really chance to check my email, but I'll get back to you this afternoon. I'll have some time today. I kind of had a busy day yesterday. My wife decided to work out with me, so Now she hates her life because she could barely walk. Morning, Adam. Oh yeah, Marty, you found. Yeah, the selling still just looks so strong in the market that it seems it doesn't seem like, it seems like we're getting acceptance inside this value. So I kind of expect us to test that low value down there at the '06 quarter. Not necessarily saying that we're going to, but it just kind of makes sense as it's going. We still have some single prints above, and so we can use those as an opportunity. Let's say if price gets above this D high, we have a good chunk of volume here, about 10,000 volume, that may act as resistance. We might be able to sell sell up here, not closing this distribution, and look for that low end of value. And remember, we're not really too worried about the exactness of this, even though I am looking for that 650. um this is 100%, I would say, a completion of trading back through value, right? We don't want to be so focused on on us getting to like a specific level. If that happens, typically you'll end up making mistakes or forcing trades or things like that, and that's not, that's obviously not something that we want to be doing. So it just I mean, it's just, you gotta, if you are worrying about that, you're probably over leveraged a bit, or it's just, you've got to do some looking inward to get yourself off of that, off of this exactness. That's something I've been working on, myself big time. Is I was always looking for, like, okay, it's gonna bounce exactly off this level, and then you know once I've stopped doing that, it's actually helped a lot. So shout out Jim Dalton. One thing that he preaches hardcore is stop worrying about exactness. No, I switched my coffee this week back to just like regular classic Folgers. You never go wrong with a classic. While the market's just chilling here for a second, let's take a look around at the other markets. Remember we talked about the, oh, that's not it, damn it. We talked about the FTSE last week and how we thought, there was some possible downside coming. So they are getting that downside, but they still have not broken, any crazy levels. The difference about this, when we're looking at something like this, is the range that it's in, right? They're like, oh, it's not bad. We're still up here, but you've got to include this range here, right? So if we switch this to the weekly, you can see how much range is actually in here. And so if we get down to this level on the FTSE, it brings you back into a weekly balance, and then that puts this spike low. If it were to break this low, it would put this spike low in play. And if you look, you can see it's almost like COVID, right? It looks like COVID on our chart, or on the SPY, right, or the SPX. Trying to see if we're gonna fail filling these single prints real quick. Sure looks like good. All right. And so it'll open this back up, and then that brings you down, into kind of this slippery zone for the FTSE, and also making a lower high, just barely, right? Because here's the all-time high. It just couldn't get back up there. So if it were to break this low, it's gonna open up a lot of downside, right? let's take a peek at the DAX, global DAX on here. It's kind of in the same spot, right? So if it breaks here, right, and this is a weekly chart. Remember, we're looking on a bigger time frame real quick. But if it breaks this level, it puts, it puts a hampering on things, right? And it's the same idea here. If we look on the actual DAX, this is just, zoomed in a little bit, but same idea. So, and then we go to the yen. Still not doing great. We look at the euro futures, getting down close to the lows. And also, this is another thing I want to talk about while we're doing this. Okay, so this is a weekly chart, and this is a bigger time frame. So I want you to imagine trying to watch the market at the same time so you guys don't miss anything. It just looks like they're just offering it down, trying to that 1250 again. I want you to imagine your range, right? So let's draw some. Here's to miss the market, but we need like the whole screen for the lesson. We'll just wait a little bit. Just someone remind me about the lesson, and then we'll do it at the end. The lesson's about balance, range and balance. I'm writing it down. Getting close back to that D low, so that short worked out like. I'm just setting this up so when we do the class later. I'm gonna give a quick scan through these options real quick. Oh, also another thing that may cause a little bit more volatility throughout the market is they have daily expiries on the SPY now. So, or the SP, or I think it's on the SPX actually, or it might be on, actually I think it is on ES futures. Yeah, look, so they have Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then this will be Thursday, Friday. So they have daily expiries on the SPY, and so this is gonna, or the futures. So this is going to give people a little bit more flexibility throughout the week and may cause a little bit more volatility if somebody puts themselves in a corner by passing the buck. So we weren't able to take that D low. 645 contracts traded on it. We're trading back up to that 1250 now. So watch this 1250 level. The they might like it, let's say if you were negative today, but when with these options, you have a chance to roll them, which means pay a little bit more money and pass them forward, right? Just like I did with my um Twitter calls, right? And it's not too bad. My premium is clapped, but I have 54 calls, and so technically I should be in the money because he bought each share for like $54.10. So they should be good, but I paid more money to get an extra week of time, right? And so that's what they're going to be doing, but now they can do it every single day. So instead of having to pass from Monday, let's say their uh thing was going to expire on Monday and have to roll it to Wednesday and pay a little bit more premium, they can just pay for tomorrow. But what I am assuming will happen is they'll people will run themselves into a corner and they'll pay for Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, and then Friday can just get crazy with everyone having to close out um when they've been passing the buck all week. So it could cause a little bit more volatility. And I think it's intended for that because retail traders will end up doing that and end up just fucking blowing it. Because a lot of retail traders aren't trading the ES futures because they're too expensive. On like to roll from Monday to Wednesday, it's a little bit more expensive. Coming back up, looking to fill those singles here now. See if they can do it. Remember, 42.20 was a pretty big level yesterday. That number should resonate with you a little bit. Or maybe be written down on your notepad or your journal. Morning, Deb. A lot of buying coming in the market here. Like Tesla's down 8.3, Apple 2.1, Microsoft 2.6, Google almost 3, Amazon 4.2, Facebook 3.4, Visa 3.21, Nvidia over 5. Get this guy. So those single prints are closed. So still some selling on this 20 here. We can see, remember yesterday the volume was there. And it looked like there was some initiated selling going on here. That what initially caused some of these lows, and then they just got kind of trapped, and then we had a big short covering rally. And if we look at the profile today, right, we are one time framing down, and we've got some liquidation, and so we just are assuming we're back inside yesterday's value, that maybe the profile starts to shape out a little bit like this, like a B profile, and that's just going to be showing liquidation of all those late shorts yesterday. But we have to monitor for another short covering rally like we had yesterday, and then also for continuation past yesterday's low. That D high looks pretty mechanical. But now look at here, you're seeing the auction battleground, right? You're seeing this. It's like a half pipe. I might patent it. It's like a half pipe of volume. Okay, so this is showing buyers are coming in. We talked about this yesterday, how we want to see the volume taper up as we go up and then see that chunk form, right? And so here we kind of have this little tapering to the upside and prices in the middle, and we have tapering from to the downside, and it meets into low volume, and it's like almost nobody wants to touch it. So this is where we're going to be looking for price to fill in if we're going to come down, or to not fill in if we're going to go up. and we'll use these weak volume areas on the back side for confirmation. So if we get above this D high, get in here, see volume come in and start trading, or holding above this. And really, if we start holding above like that 20 level, should be confirmed up here. And then the same thing to the downside, right? If we get down here and this thing starts to fill in, we'll look to see if these buyers still want it where they've been buying it. And if not, get down here. And I mean, they've already put in some volume down here, it looks like. There was some attempts down here, but they might have just gotten caught a little bit too short, which is what caused us to close that distribution. Still holding below the 20 though. Watch for this to fill in. See, they traded right over it. That's not very oh, my bad, TJ. I did start a little bit early today. Yeah, my kids were ready on time because I gave them hell yesterday because we were late. Well, we weren't late, but later than I like to leave, because if you don't get to that school at like, before 8, forget about it. Sit there forever. People don't know how to drive. It's not even people don't know how to drive. People don't know how to follow the simple rules. Like they have this thing that says pull up to the cone. People don't pull up to the cone. And then there's like a little teacher's parking lot right in front of the school, but it's right there where the like the drop off is at for the kids. And people, parents, lazy parents pull in there because it's faster than waiting in line to drop your kid off in the front of the school. And so every time I get over there, I just block it with my car. And this guy was trying to give me grief yesterday. I was like, "You were in a rush, bitch. Should have left your house earlier." You know, not my problem. You're breaking the rules. So just maybe ruin his day right off the bat. But hopefully he learns a lesson. And the lesson being it's not that important. So just leave your house a little bit earlier. Follow the rules. Simple as that. And that's like a rule that you can set in your trading life, right? You can set a trading rule. Hey, if you don't watch the open, then you don't get to trade. That's I think that's a pretty decent rule to have, because a lot of times when you don't watch the open, you don't really get the feel for the market. It's tough going on for the rest of the day. Not that it's not possible. It's definitely possible for sure, but you know, could be something. Jim Dalton always says the early bird gets the worm, so don't be a worm. You know what I mean? And I've got that actually, like, what's it called? Labeled, a label maker on my desk. Those words. But once I get on the East Coast, enough to watch the Open be nothing. 9:30. I'll already be back from dropping off the kids. We'll be starting the stream at the Open. Yeah. I don't know how chatty I'll be, because the Open typically, if I'm trading, sometimes I have to get quiet to focus, but he'll he'll be good. All right, so E opens up here. Look for them to test that volume. Here comes down to like that 13, that 1250 actually. That was the level I have written down. So watch this test of 1250 and see if these guys are going to try to hold that level above now. And it does look like they are. It looks like they're coming up in on this 1375, 1350 here. Oh, where's it? I'm gonna cut a little bit of my short right here, I think. Watching this 1250. If we can stay below this 1250, this thing should flush. Get going. We already know there was interest down here, right? See all the volume. See if they've got the stones to push this low. No follow through. We still are inside day, so makes sense. The market's a little bit rotational. That now we have an E high that's mechanical and a D high that's mechanical. That's not amazing, especially that means we're getting some mechanical sellers down here. So we'll take a step back and look for the next opportunity here. And I think that these buyers might get an opportunity here if we get back above what was that week level? Was that week level 15? Where was our middle of our half pipe? It was like 15, I think. If we get back above that 15, they'll probably end up taking that D high, and then the market might start getting a little bit annoying because it's going to get really rotational inside yesterday's range. So it's going to be kind of a chop fest. And then we're going to jump over to the lesson then if that starts to happen. Watch the volume. Europe is closed. Volume's less than yesterday, 12% less than yesterday. So the breadth is not as bad now. Tesla's back under 9%. Only thing that's green is energy, utilities, and real estate. Everything else just flipped to red. And energy, utilities, and real estate don't even make up 10% of the S&P 500, so just saying. A little bit of buying coming in here. Little pop, so there's the 15. Watch for them to fix this mechanical high. We knew it was mechanical because of its placement. There it goes. Now we're looking for the D high, right? The D high is a mechanical high. Give us a rotation inside of previous day. Typically will bring on more choppiness, which isn't the most fun to trade, for being honest. Able to get up. We're still kind of in this little half pipe thing. See, the difference here that makes me keep leaning to the downside is if you look at this, it's more this side's more like a chunk, and then it tapers off to the downside, right? This one is kind of builds up. I mean, even here, it just kind of builds up and then keeps going, tapers, right? And this is just because it's on 2 ticks, I guess. It kind of put together. But let me just show you guys what it looks like this. You can see here the tapering is kind of on the wrong side for these sellers, or for these buyers, I mean. But it keeps having me lean to this. Whereas this tapers up and then tapers off as it gets lower. This one tapers up, and that kind of creates that cliff. And there, I mean, there goes the low. You know, so no surprise, but you know that's kind of you know, just something that I've noticed, right? That you guys could look at, see if you notice similar things, and then let me know. Market is bitch today. My first short today was at 42. What's this? What's underneath the spike? Hang on. 42, 65, 25. So the trade plan worked out, I mean, pretty perfectly today. So cool. It's nice where the market is. It's nice on days where the market does like what it's supposed to do, if that makes sense. Big selling here in tech. Tesla's almost down 9.5% already. Google's down 3.5%. Microsoft's almost down 3%. Facebook 3.5%. Nvidia's 5.5%. Look at TNX. TNX not coming back up. So we finally found something that's not really doing what what it normally does. So here's some negative correlation here. Yeah. Fed funds is coming up. So let me pull up a web page real quick. Look at that. If you guys could do me a favor, go ahead and like the channel if you are enjoying the content. I wanted to pull up. There it is. So remember we looked at this, I think it was maybe last week. But you could see pretty much they're pricing in 3/4 or full point hike in or on May 4th in May. So everyone has been expecting this half point raise, um, a double hike. This might be a triple or a quadruple hike, depending upon how what they do. I think big time. Like if we go to Microsoft, we have Microsoft earnings today, and you can see I have this marked on the low because Microsoft's coming to that point as well. If it starts breaking this low, it starts getting into danger territory, right? And that's a level that I'm trying to pay attention to. And then we also have Google earnings today. And it's coming right down, to a similar level that I am also watching. Facebook already broke the level I was looking at. Facebook's just getting absolutely clapped. Apple hasn't, Apple really looks the strongest. And honestly, if Apple comes down to 150, there's buying opportunity there for Apple. Apple looks strong. Tesla obviously already broke the level, right? But Tesla still has opportunity as well, right? If you look on a bigger scale, there's from 600 to 900, really. I know it's a big, even 540 to 900 on Tesla. There's a lot of opportunity for value there, right? What was the other one? I think we got them all. Looks. Yeah, Netflix broke or gap down again for the Netflix is gonna die probably. Like it's just not. I mean that just does not look awesome. Bitcoin's getting hammered with the market today as well, so we're trying to see where the money's going. There's opportunity probably in the dollar. See the dollar coming up. A lot of people could be running towards the dollar. Let's look at the pound. What's the pound called versus the dollar? Google just broke the low. This looks halted. I don't know what's going on here. Doesn't look great. We already looked at the yen. That's quite the response right there off the bottom. Do you guys see that? Pay attention. So what that probably was buy stops, right? Somebody that was short that had planned to take profit below yesterday's value, and then boom, it purchased them, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that the market's just going to start running up, but it's something to pay attention to because that means a bigger player probably got out of the market right there. And that also means that a bigger player probably absorbed that position because by him getting out, he's getting somebody else in, right? Just something to watch for. This is when you see moves like that, that's when you want to monitor for continuation. Kind of like when E period busted that top of D and then just came right back down, busted that the D open. It just popped and then just never came back up at all. It just hit and then started running back down. So watch the same thing here. We got British pound. Yeah, British pound's getting a little smackarooski. Australian dollars getting smacked again, and they were actually doing okay. Swiss franc getting smacked. Peso's actually not doing bad. Lucky for them, they're neighbors with us. Canadian peso, Canadian dollars getting smacked. Everything's just getting smacked, right? Everything except the dollar. Even the euro futures are just getting a smackarooski. Except the dollar. I don't know if there is dollar actually. And so, where is it? Dollar futures are going up. So what this could mean is that everybody is running into the dollar because there's not really a ton of stuff that's going up, right? Gold's not raging. Oil is over 100, so oil's kind of raging, which makes sense because energy's up. But it's like if all of these currencies are gonna crash and everyone's gonna pour into the dollar, it's going to ruin some of the other countries' economies. And if some of the other countries' economies suffer, it means our economy is going to suffer because the world is kind of codependent upon other economies right now, which is the whole reason that a lot of these markets are down. With China being shut down because of COVID, the supply chain issue continues to struggle on. And there's a lot of speculation, like, are they doing it on purpose because they want Alibaba to try to gain some ground against Amazon worldwide? There's a lot of speculation, but we can see on the charts that there is a lot of people running into the dollar. And if some of these countries owe money in dollars and they're trying to buy dollars, it could mean that there's a lack of liquidity. And we know what can happen when there's a lack of liquidity. We can get these huge, violent moves, right? We're getting close back up to that 1250, which was that initial offer level. So pay attention at that level. You should see some more selling. If not, you probably see some short covering, and it might get a little bit of opportunity to backfill in between our lower volume. A little bit of buying coming in here in financials. This buying here kind of looks mechanical. It looks like they're buying off the half back right here. I mean, it's right at the 1250-ish area, but this looks mechanical. How much time do we have till the next period? All right, we got 12 minutes. All right, so this is what I want to show you guys. So I've outlined a range, a monthly range or a monthly balance in red, a weekly balance in white, and a daily balance in blue, right? And we're just saying that it's a range or balance because of it, the low, the high, the low, right? It's exact. So there's the range, right? And the same thing is a monthly, right? So this is on a bigger time frame. So imagine, and this is why I'm trying to put you in the perspective of a larger time frame trader, right? Imagine that you are not day trading and you're not swing trading, but you're larger time frame. You're big money. And you can see if we draw a profile for this, and what we'll actually do is I'll just bring up the volume profile for it, so we can see it here. Okay, perfect. And so imagine that you're a larger term time frame trader, right? And so you have this liquidation down. It gets down here, no volume comes in, right? That's a representation that nobody is selling, right? So that becomes that unfair low. And if we draw our profile, right, we can just imagine it like this. Okay? And you know, if we had to say, I wouldn't say that's great excess on the low. On a monthly time frame, that's just not great excess, right? But on the top, you know, it looks pretty balanced on the way up. So what we can assume is that responsive buying is happening here. So this is all responsive buying. right? We see the big volume nodule. We test it again, test it again. This is responsive buying, and we're just using the Euro FX futures just because, right? It doesn't. We can do it on the ES too if that would be more helpful for you guys, but just to get the concept of it, right? And we can assume up here, look where this volume's at, that this is responsive selling. So there's sellers up here, larger time frame traders selling up here. And so what happens eventually in every market, right? We always get something like this. And that's because the way that auctions work, we have these larger term time frame traders, their prices are eventually going to get closer because they want to be in the picture. So as this came down here, right? So the second time, responsive buyers are here. We know that, right? Below this, on a weekly time frame, it comes down here. We see more volume come in. So more responsive buying. Again, here, responsive buying. But look at this time here. No, there was no buying up here. So no initiated buying this time. The price came down and responsive seller came in, and that's where you see all this volume at. Price moves down. Responsive buyers still lurking, but you're getting your responsive seller moving down, right? And we're seeing our responsive buyer move up. But look who moved down farther and who moved up shorter, right? Who didn't move up as much. What is that telling you? That's telling you that value is moving down, right? If the seller is having to move down farther to sell, one, he's being more aggressive, and two, that prices aren't valued up here yet. And so this is kind of giving you a bigger or broader perspective on something like the auction, right? And a reason behind when we zoom into a 30-minute chart. Let's see. I mean, this thing's just kind of getting the old smackarooski. Let's find something that's not worthless. Find something that's just like ranging. Look at Luna. Okay. So this is why we get things like this. Right? We have our seller moving down, selling, gets too short, right? Because you remember responsive seller, responsive seller, responsive buyer, initiated selling, initiated selling, initiated selling, initiated selling, responsive buying, and this guy gets a little bit too short. So look, they're probably short from this 89 big time, and they got caught a little bit. So what happens? Inventory corrects. You go back up to where the responsive seller was at. He's still there. Price comes back down. This tells you, I mean, it looks just like it. This is just short covering, and then price comes back down. And it's the same idea. So now as price comes back down, the responsive buyer was here. Is the responsive buyer still there? We're going to find out soon. Right? And there's kind of the auction theory behind trend lines on a bigger scale, bringing it from outside to inside. So hopefully that helped and wasn't too confusing. And if it was, just let me know so I can figure out a different way to represent the information. Tesla's almost down 10% here. Bitcoin's starting to break here. Red all over the board. Doesn't look great right here. So remember what we talked about, right? We saw that big move up, which was probably buy stop. So probably a longer term seller getting out of a position. Somebody was responsibly buying that, and if they're gonna hold that position or hold this ground, they won't let price trade through here and trade back into where we see responsive buying yesterday. Or this could be, I mean, like we talked about, really 25, honestly 25 to like 4,200 is really just opportunity for buyers to responsibly buy. So they could easily just let this thing come back down. But if they were aggressive responsive buyers, they would hold the low, right? If they were getting any kind of support. 31 contracts trade on the low right now. Keep watching it. Bitcoin's really puking. $377 contracts on the OO here at 4,200. Watch for that 198. We got a decent bounce from there yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, like 198, 197.50. They're still stacking that thing and stepping up here, buyers are. And pay attention to the tempo, right? That's what, when we get to these responsive areas where we're looking for a reaction, we want to look for the tempo. Who's being more aggressive and doing um who's doing a better job. One of the big questions that I learned from Jim Dalton to ask myself is, what is the market trying to do, and is it doing a good job at it, right? And so right now we see the market trying to go down, but not doing a very good job. We know that there's a psychological level right there at the 00. It just makes sense that the market would try to get down there and touch it. And really, the target would be the low of yesterday at that 95 quarter. And so right now it seems like it is doing a decent job, but notice the tempo is getting a little bit slow as we get lower, which just tells you to be careful. It doesn't tell you to just abandon hope on the short side and get long. It just tells you to be careful, right? Like yesterday. Yesterday, the market was trying to go down, but the tempo was just not matching the direction, and you got that reversal, about halfway through the day or later on in the day. Still haven't traded that 00 yet. 400 contracts sitting on it for 30 or 50. Bitcoin's still puking. F period's opening up. We'll open up with some single prints above. Let's see what the market's got here. Or low. And poor low is representation of weakness, right? And so, like we said, the market is trying to go down. If it was trying to go down and really was putting in the effort, we wouldn't put in a poor low. We would just keep smacking down, right? And so that's just telling us to be cautious on our shorts. That means if we are going to get into a new short position, we definitely don't want to be doing it at the low. So until we get below yesterday's low, taking a breakout trade today isn't going to be a winning trade. Today's a safer day to wait for these pullbacks like we've been doing and shorting on the pullbacks. Is Microsoft and Google today? Is it earnings 426 after market? That's today for Microsoft. Google today. Amazon Thursday. Well, I think. Did you guys have any questions on how I explain the auction from like a bigger perspective to the inside perspective, or to the shorter time frame perspective? And I don't really zoom in past that. Like 30 minutes is pretty much as far as I zoom in. I use like a 5-minute chart on the tick chart just to see a little bit more, price action. But can I explain the term inventory? Yeah. So in the market, you have, for the most part, you have uh three types of traders, right? You have a dealer, right, who's normally the sell side of the market. He's um a dealer. That's great. I wonder if I could. It's not gonna matter. So a dealer is normally the sell side of the market, and then you have like institutions, like banks and some hedge funds, depending upon how large they are. Um, some companies. You've got, like ranchers, farmers. Those are technically, they'll be like an institutional level because they're using it the ways that institutions use. They're using futures the way institutions use them. And then you've got leveraged funds. And leveraged funds are like hedge funds, smaller hedge funds, proprietary firms, and people like me, people that are trading on margin leverage. And so what happens is, when we have these dealers, they get a little bit too much inventory sometimes, right? So they're taking on the sell side, or the opposite side really, of the market. So let's say that institutional and leverage funds are all getting long. Well, that means dealers are getting short, right? And so what happens is, a lot of times, if and a lot of times these leverage funds are the ones that are on the wrong side of the market. They'll get too short, too short, too short, and we saw it yesterday. Dealers are absorbing that, so they're taking it all. They're buying all of it as leverage funds are going down. We can actually just use yesterday's graphic because it was pretty much a perfect representation. Let me pop it out. We saw there's some buying coming in the market here, guys. We saw selling try to happen all day. We had some rotation, which showed us the initial weakness and the aggression of the buyers. The tempo was just up all day, but you had people wanting to short the market because it was down all day. Down, they're shorting it. They got too short, right? So you've got leverage funds that are just negative all day, and you've got dealers down here that have just been getting positive all day. And what happens is, when these leveraged funds can't keep selling because the dealers just have, they're just wanting to buy all of this, you get this kind of reversal move, and these leverage funds start to short cover. And so basically they're just collecting inventory on the way down, and then they moved it up, and if you look at the end of the day, they offloaded it. And this was kind of a key thing here that kind of led me to think like, oh, that was just short covering. I honestly didn't have a true like 100% conviction. I just assumed that it was probably short covering. And then Jim Dalton tweeted this morning that it was short covering, and that gave me 100% conviction because I really trust him. And we saw the liquidation this morning. So all of these people that were still short, right? When it gets down like this, they're nervous. It's a day later, and so what do they start to do? They start to get rid of all their get rid of all their inventory, and that's what happened. So these dealers that bought everything, they got rid of a lot of it at the end, and then they start to liquidate the rest today. And then it becomes kind of a mad dash for other people to do that were buyers yesterday, and that's what causes these single prints. We still holding on to one single print here, but that's what causes some of these single prints, because you get the rush, like, oh shit, I need to get rid of this because everyone else is getting rid of theirs, right? Imagine if you bought a computer monitor and you were in the business of buying and selling stuff, and you're just, let's say you're like a Facebook seller, right? A lot of people sell shit on Facebook. And then we've got Amazon, who sells, computer monitors, like, you know, just on an amazing level, right? And then you've got someone like, let's say, like, anyone even know what Fry's is besides my California people? Let's say we got Best Buy, okay? And all they're all tracking each other, right? You're looking at Amazon and Best Buy to see what they're selling their monitors for, so you can resell it because you got a deal on it, so you're looking to sell it for a price. Amazon, right, is looking to what you guys are selling it for, looking for what it's selling retail, looking for what it's selling in the store, so they can price their products accordingly. But in reality, we're focused on what's going to be selling the most, and that's going to be Amazon. So if Amazon starts to dump a bunch of their TVs up here, then so do we. We start to dump a bunch of ours up here. But then Amazon comes the morning today and starts to dump a bunch of their TVs, but they can, they've got a bigger supply. And if these are all getting filled, we're looking at Amazon, oh shit, they're selling all their TVs. We need to sell ours. And so it becomes a mad dash to compete to sell these TVs. And that's what's causing these single prints. That boom liquidation. Right? And that's how the inventory is working. It is kind of complicated, but that's really what you're trying to track. I mean, and it's not as clear as it was yesterday. Yesterday was pretty clear. It seemed pretty clear, at least while we were watching it unfold. It seemed pretty clear. We were kind of, I mean, we were short for the most part, but we were very careful on the upside, and then ended up catching a nice long later in the day, or, well, not really later in the day, because I didn't catch like the spike in that stuff. I was working out. Did that help, Lord MacGyver? Or are you still confused? Or did I confuse you more? Back to that 1250 here. Bitcoin's starting to catch a pretty decent bounce as well. Starting to form another little half pipe. When I'm saying Overnight inventory is short. What I'm talking about is I'm not talking necessarily about either or. I'm just talking about more people because we don't know who it is, right? There's no way to know for sure. But so I base it off of the settle. Some people base it off of the high. But we have overnight inventory is probably like 80-20 short. There was some people that are trapped long up here. But for the most part, overnight inventory was short, and it did come down towards the end of the day, right? Especially if we pop this out, we can kind of see it just hung out, popped up, and then just started coming down. So overnight inventory is pretty much short. That just means that most people that traded from the overnight are short, most likely, right? Even if they were buyers, they're probably stopped out. So they're a sell contract at that point. And so what we look for when the market opens, if it's mostly short, is if there's a correction, right? Is the correction of overnight inventory would be back to the upside, and that would tell us that these traders that traded overnight are probably weaker handed traders. Well, today we didn't get any of that. We traded a couple of ticks and then started to get smacked, and it really just opened and it kind of was like, nah, I mean, it wasn't exactly like that, but that's kind of what it felt like. And that's just telling us that there isn't any initiated buying up here to above yesterday's value to correct this overnight inventory. So even if these are weak-handed traders or stronger traders, there's no initiated buying up here to correct the inventory that's already short. Does that make sense? Tesla's 10.5% down right here. Apple 2.5%, Microsoft 2.5%, Google 3%, Amazon 4%, Tesla 10.5%, Facebook 2.5%. Facebook's actually not doing as bad as it was. Facebook's actually not looking bad, to be honest with you. For Facebook's. Yeah. Apple doesn't look too bad, to be honest with you. Microsoft looks good. We might catch a bounce here. Sneaky bounce, guys. Be careful here. Be careful. I mean, Tesla's getting hammered pretty hard, and I don't want to say that the market's going to go up, but I just want to. Everything's not looking as bad as it. Remember, we haven't broken the low of yesterday either, so we're still pretty range bound for the most part. Tesla is probably down. I mean, I don't know for sure, but Tesla's probably down because Elon took loans um against his stake in Tesla to buy Twitter. He took like against his shares. So they're just assuming that, there's a lot of speculation like he might get distracted by Twitter, or it's going to pull him away from what he's got going on, or yeah, it could cause Tesla to suffer because he's going to be focusing on other things. So, people might just be liquidating because they don't of the unknown, right? They're afraid. The VIX is up 14% today too. I hadn't mentioned that, but this. Still seeing some buying here. Remember, we have a mechanical D high still, right? That's one thing that we were looking at earlier. Still paying attention to it. got mechanical D high and a 4 low with that 13 lonely contracts, 18 lonely contracts down there. You know when you turn and then boom, your back just cracks perfectly. Yeah, dude, I think this might be a sneaky long here, honestly. I think they might try to sneak one in. We need to get amped up, guys. I think you guys are sleeping. We are getting a little bit of a pop here. Just be careful. Watch that let's watch that D high up there at 22 quarter. Remember we talked about how that poor low means, a little bit of weakness there by especially that 4200 is just right there. But we have seen, the downside. We haven't even had a cessation of one time framing yet. So we also can't be just, jumping on the bull and trying to ride it up while it's trying to buck us down. I'm not going long, just so you know. I'm just being careful of it. Yeah, the spike base is this one. What did I do? Yeah, I probably just misworded it, to be honest with you. It's probably not you. It's probably me. But yeah, you're right. The spike base is the part where the double TPOs start back up, and then the spike top is the top. So yeah, you have it right. I think I just probably mislabeled it. Yeah. If I do that though, and you notice it, next time just comment in the Discord. I don't mind. I know some people might mind getting corrected. I don't mind it, and I won't take it as like, if I fuck something up, I like to find out. So just let me know. I've been used to it because my dad, anytime when I would fuck something up, would just be like, "You fucked that up." So it's not gonna. I promise I won't get any hurt feelings or anything. I just like to That way, because if you're noticing it, and I mean you're pretty vocal, so you don't mind jumping on, but some people might be confused as well. So if you notice it, let's just get it out there so we can make sure that everyone's on the same page. Because you guys know words are not my my strong suit. I'm really good at letters when they're in a line. That's where I shine with the letters. I just don't have the time really, or I don't really have the want to do that. I'm more of a you know, off the top kind of person. I'd much rather give the speech in person than type it out and let somebody read it. You know what I mean? And I think it carries a lot more weight. I mean, even though, you know, people love books, but I think that, you know, when you write a book, because a lot of times authors don't put their interpretation, and I used to get in trouble for this in school. You know, when you would do homework and the teacher would say, what is the author trying to represent? Well, that's subjective, right? And it's just a bullshit question. And so that's how I would answer the question on purpose to try to stimulate the teacher's brain. But, you know, of course, they would just take it as aggression and they don't want to learn anything from a student, which is, you know, just a fucking terrible mindset to have, which is what a lot of teachers have, which is unfortunate. But that's neither here nor there. It's just, things through text are so subjective. It's really hard to get what the author is actually thinking unless you're getting it from the author's mouth, you know? So that's kind of why I don't work on that or work on text things as much, because I don't think they're as valuable. Like, can you imagine if we would have, you know, the founders of America here to tell us what the Second Amendment was actually about, instead of just listening to all these dipshits argue about it? Like, no, it means that we can have machine guns at home. Like, no, it means that you can have guns to protect yourself in case the government tries to take your shit. Like, you don't need guns, right? There's like 3 arguments going on, and it's like, our forefathers said that guns is a right. And it's like, you know, but imagine if they were here to tell us what they actually meant. So much interpretation just makes everything so messy. We're getting up to that D high now. It's kind of what we expected. A lot of absorption here. What's that, Kevin? I mean, oh yeah. Right, right. And you wonder, you know, you really do wonder the interpretation. Like, if you were to be able to hear from them, you know, what it would be. And you got to think about the time. I mean, you're talking about so long ago that they don't have the technology has grown so fast, so quick in the past, you know, 500 years even. It's insane. You're talking about, you know, I mean, it's just crazy that to think like how people initially got places. They just got in a boat and it just took forever, you know, sometimes months to get where they were going. And a lot of times they didn't even know where they were going. They were just going. And now it's like you get in a plane and you can pretty much just go wherever you want in less than 12 hours or about 12 hours. Yeah. Well, and that's why a lot of times families don't really live all in the same area, because you used to, back in the day, towns used to be smaller towns because, you know, you can't, it wasn't easy to just like get on the internet and apply for a job in a different city and then just move to that different city once you get a new job. You'd have to move to a new town, you know, find a place to live, find some work, you know, unless you're fucking Wyatt Earp and just walk into the saloon and kick out Billy Bob Thornton and then boom, this is yours. You know? Anybody get that one? I know my dad gets that one for sure. Tombstone. Is Jared in here? He probably would have got that one too. Oh, my Uncle Stacy probably gets it. You guys have seen that movie, right? Tombstone? I hope so. I mean, Kevin, you've definitely had to have seen it. It's probably like, I mean, that's probably like the main part of the history that's taught in Arizona public school is probably based off of it. Well, no, my wife had never heard of it. They didn't teach a lot of Western things on the East Coast where she was at. I was like, what, your history class stopped at the 13 colonies and everything else doesn't matter? Or like my wife had never heard. Oh, go ahead. All right, Jamie, you have a good day as well. Thanks. We're getting a good pop here. But it went long. Hmm. Oh yeah, it was. I almost took this long from 11 too. Yeah. It'll come together. You know, I definitely understand that, and I've definitely been in that same situation where I've had that happen to me. It does get frustrating, but look at it as the way like, because are you just trading one lot right now? So just look at it. I mean, you're nailing that, and so as you start to keep nailing that, you add that second lot, and then you can give that second lot a chance to run, and then once you hit your take profit, just move that second lot's stop loss to break even, and then if it goes back to break even, whatever, because you're really just looking for that first take profit, and your second lot's just like a you know like a bonus. Because really what's happening is you're identifying a trade, taking a trade, and winning a trade, and you don't want to negatively reinforce that like, oh, I should have stayed in it, because then what can happen is you can start to stay in bad trades. So a way to combat that, or to put yourself in a situation where you can stay in the trade, is when you're successful hitting that one lot over and over, add that second lot, and then give it that opportunity. And then as you'll see, you'll start to be able to fluctuate a little bit more. So like as the take profit, or you might get a longer take profit, or you might see that it's starting to fade after it hit your first take profit, and um, you don't want to wait for it to come back to hit your stop loss. Then you can close it early, right? Maybe get 3 points instead of 2 points on the two lots. You know, it'll just it'll come, but stay away from negatively reinforcing a winning trade. That's not a good habit, because the trade was successful. It was good risk management, a good identification of trade. Yeah, we're 20 points higher, but the idea is there, and so you are identifying the market correctly. You're understanding the auction. It's just a matter of working on your comfortability. But yeah, definitely just try to stay away from negatively reinforcing a good trade, because that was a good trade. Right. And honestly, with us being inside day and a pretty choppy market,
I wouldn't say. I mean, 2 points might be a little bit shy because of the range that we're in. I mean, we're in a pretty wide range. I don't know if we're at 100 points today yet though. But I mean, we've hit 100 point 3 days in a row. What are we at? 68. We're about 65 points total today. Um, I mean, so you could probably go for a little bit wider range, but honestly, nothing wrong with that because it is an inside day, and inside days tend to be, pretty choppy for the most part. Thanks, Lord MacGyver. I appreciate it. An inside day? Yeah. So an inside day, oh, this kind of just looks like a long staking profit up here. So if we see more buyers step up, they could keep pushing price higher. Just be careful here. Weak high on the G high. So inside day, if we take a peek at yesterday, an inside day just means that we're inside yesterday's range. So we see the high of today is here, and yesterday's high is up here somewhere. And then the low is here. Our low is here. So we're still inside yesterday's range. And typically inside, we get a little bit choppy. And this is kind of one thing that we talked about on was on Sunday or Monday. Um, oh my God. So a lot of times after we get this liquidation, oh, this is Google. Oops. Google looks like absolute shit. You guys didn't see it. Um, a lot of times after we get this liquidation, we start to balance because you're having this I mean, it's basically just showing you that the selling is over, and right, and all of this is just liquidation. So every time the price rallies, we're getting a liquidation. So it's just on a bigger scale, and that's kind of what I was trying to explain yesterday. If we looked at the market on a weekly level, or on a month, was it a monthly level? Yeah, on the monthly, you're kind of seeing that same thing, right? You're kind of seeing a little bit of a B shape start to form. We're getting balance on a monthly, but basically what that's representing, or what it's telling us, is that the market is just taking profit up here at the top. And this is just my interpretation of the auction process, right? Not saying that it's right or anything, it's just my interpretation. And it's until we get continuation or break out of balance to the upside, in reality, we want to be buyers towards the low of this and sellers towards the high of this. Well, right now we are towards the low of this, so we've got to be careful um, getting short down here, and smart money is being careful getting short down here, as we can see, because we still haven't broke the previous month's low, right? If sellers were coming down to initiate on this is on a monthly, then we would just flush that thing, in my opinion. And so even on the monthly, we're inside the monthly, the previous month's range. Zoom in here, inside the previous month's range. This just to me tells me that I don't want to be selling down here, and I don't want to be buying up here. I need to be patient because we're in balance, right? So I want to be patient. I mean, and when you're day trading, it's a little bit different. I'm talking, this is a longer term scale, and I'm talking from the perspective of a larger money trader or a longer term trader. But that's who we have to think about when we're trading, right? Because that's who moves the market. Big money. And a lot of times, Kevin, too, with when we have inside days like that, you know, it just mostly will be a similar situation, right? Well, we know while we're inside the previous day that we don't want to be selling or getting short at the lows, and we really don't want to be buying at the highs because we haven't discovered any new price range, right? We haven't, the market hasn't had a bigger time frame initiated seller or initiated buyer to break the previous day's range. And if we're not getting big money coming down to break the previous day's range, why we shouldn't be getting short at the lows either. And same thing, you know, same thing with the upside as well. Nice, the sun's coming out. I doesn't have to work out inside today. Okay. Ooh, starting to get some gas on the low side here. Getting some absorption down here from these buyers, it looks like to me. They're trying to kind of hold on, it looks like. And we're back in that little half pipe from 20 to 10. Downside starting to pick up a little bit. Um, Apple's turning back down. Microsoft's turning back down. Google's turning back down. Amazon's kind of chilling but turning back down. Tesla's turning back down as well. Ooh, there goes some selling all over here. Oil's still catching the pump, up about 3.75%. 3/4. 3.3, I mean, not 3.25. Facebook is really not looking that weak, to be honest with you. Apple's coming back to green here. It just looks like a small pullback, and the pullback is it's putting in a higher low on a lot of these tech stocks, which is making me suspicious of the G high again. Tesla's come right down to a trend line that we've been watching for a while now. Yeah, look at Tesla. Came right down to the 200 and right off of that trend to the lows. I mean, still hanging out down here, but it seems like there's a bit of support there for now. And now you're starting to see some buying coming in. We're still watching kind of like this 20 to 10 level, right? It's kind of like our little half pipe that we've been watching. Remember, we haven't visited down here in a while, right? F period stayed up here for a good amount of time, and G period really didn't make any advancement on the low side. So I would say, if I had to measure, I would say it's pretty close with responsive selling compared to responsive buying. If we were to separate this at the C period, we have a pretty balanced profile, except for the poor low, but good excess on the C period. This is after the liquidation, good excess on the C period. And then we're kind of balancing down here. I mean, really 33 to 4202, 4200. My wife sent me a like a meme that says it's Jeff Bezos, and he's like, "Hey, heard you're buying Twitter." And Elon looks at Jeff Bezos and he goes, "Amazon is next." And Jeff Bezos says, "Bruh." And then it goes back to Elon, and Elon says, "Add to cart." Oh, I don't know. I mean, the thing is like when you have that much money, you just have so much power, and you know, typically in history, when one, and I'm not saying man as like a male, but just like as one person gets too much power, it tends to corrupt them. It's just not good for most people, which is why you get a lot of the people, um, like Gandhi and even Martin Luther King, who are trying to affect this change, didn't have a lot of power, but understood that the change needs to come without the power for it to get accepted. And, it's kind of scary to see one person with so much power, and in this case, not even just one, like a bunch of people with so much power, where literally, a button press could change the world. Especially because Russia was talking about nukes yesterday. Not that I think he'll do it, but about it.
Ready. Look nice. Selling coming in here. See if Apple. I'm watching Apple closely. See if Apple's going to break this. Keep coming back to this 1250 level. If you look at this profile, I mean, it's starting to look very similar. I want to say it looks exactly the same, but pretty similar. Yesterday it broke up. Let's see what they got, right? We knew that they were trying to sell it down, but kind of ran out of steam. And there were some buyers. Are people willing to buy it again? Think about human psychology. When we talked about it's a lot easier to sell something when it's going up than it is to buy something when it's going down. And why that is, who knows? But that's just how it is. Sure, there's some science behind it, but really people that research the brain don't, there's so much that they don't know that it could be one of. You leaving?
Just forgot something.
Let me know when you get there.
Love you.
Love you too. But all right, I gotta get some stretching in, guys. I'm gonna stay on stream. If you have any questions, just let me know. But I'm gonna be doing some pre-workout stretching. Coming back to that 1250 here. Trying to see some selling in gold and bonds here. Some buying coming into AMD here. Still. Now we're coming back up to the 20. Remember, this was kind of like the other lip of our half pipe right here. And look where we're seeing all the volume. Very similar to yesterday, right?
Let's watch this 2250 level here. That seemed kind of like the spot where there was some selling popping in. Right on the point of control. Buying coming in everywhere here.
Remember too, even as the profile starts to develop, we are still seeing, you know, this V shape, right? A sign of just a pure, you know, mostly liquidation, which is kind of what we saw yesterday for the most part, until, you know, until really, um, you know, that IJ broke the high. So we've got to be cautious of that happening again today as well. And then also the inverse, right? If we get some initiated selling down here at these lows, we'll break the low. But if not, we've just still got to be thinking that buyers are here and sellers are here. No follow through. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about on a bigger, on a smaller scale. How we talked about, you got those responsive sellers, responsive buyers, how it's getting a little bit tighter, right? We can see it getting tighter. Look where the volume is at.
So we're watching this 22 level as it comes up here. There it is, 22. Ooh, look at the tempo start to pick up on the upside here. Now we want to see the market, well, you'd want to see the market stay above that 23 level. A lot of buying throughout the market here. Apple looked to be bought right off half back though. So I'm not going to be super sold on this. G's one tick above. Let's look for this value and look for acceptance above. I'm going to keep this little square on so we can watch it, or rectangle. But Apple looks kind of weak to me. H period opens up and it's got the same high, making it even weaker. But just because it's there, right? So when we see these mechanical levels like this, we don't want to just assume that it's going to break because we know it's a weak level. It's also a weak level showing us that buyers aren't initiating buying up there. If sellers are able to hold that level, and look how far we're trading away from it, buyers aren't buying. We're about 5 handles down from it now. And the market's kind of confused right now, it looks like to me. Market's starting to push back down a little bit. Tesla's getting close to that 10% level again. And watch for the entrance, right? We've identified like a new value inside of value. Watch for the re-entrance of price into the value, and that can give us a little bit of information if buyers are going to step up or if they're going to, you know, wait on. The tick is getting pretty down there. No negative 1,000 ticks today though. So there hasn't been like, you know, some crazy strong selling. I don't think we got any negative 1,000 ticks yesterday either. There's the break. Little responsive buying there. Maybe some short covering, to be honest with you. That little pop, I think, was just a little bit of short covering. I still think we're, I still think that, you know, they're just kind of just being careful. We're starting to pick up some speed on the downside. We're back to that 1250. So we actually did break the G low by 1 tick, and you see some responsive buying off that low. So pay attention to where price is staying at, right? Staying down here. It's not like it was up here when it touched that high and then kind of came down 5 handles. It's right there, and they're looking to sell it now. I don't know if that's really all the stops, though. There should be some, a little bit more. There they go. So the next, let's see if they hold this impulse, this break of this low and this impulse, and the next level down will be that 4205. It looks, I've written down at least. You want to pay attention, like I said, if they're going to get acceptance outside of this thing on either side, outside of our, you know, our new value, or value inside of value, value squared. Back to the 1250. You want to see sellers hold it, you know, if they're strong, they should hold it below this 1250. They're having a tough job doing that. Selling coming in. Yeah. Russia's supposedly cutting off oil. Poland says gas supply halt is a breach of Yamal contract. Yeah, it says Russian to halt gas deliveries from April 27th. Polish gas firm put that out. That's not just going to affect Poland, it's going to affect all of Europe. Vaccine just absolutely smacked off that. Bitcoin is approaching those lows again. But the market's not, our market's not really reacting to it as much, right? It's still kind of just holding here back in our zone. All right, getting back down there towards that 1250. Just keep watching that 1250. That's been, kind of the crutch for these buyers. If that thing breaks, we'll probably be looking back towards that low. I think maybe the 05 might be a small stop, but the low is going to be the target for the sellers to repair that poor low. And remember, we can still get, just because we break this poor low. So imagine here, let's say H period comes down, breaks that poor low, and let's say it stops here, right? That still leaves us decent excess. We got, 4 ticks of excess down below. That's why we're not getting short down here, right? But that's just where the target is. If we are short, right, from the 20 level is probably where we should be short from. Our target is going to be this low. But we're aware that it, just because it fixes a poor low doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take out yesterday's low either. Apple's pushing down now. Oh, Putin's meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Gold 50 just keeps hanging out around there. But look, no continuation, right? That's just letting us know that we're just not getting initiated selling down here to, get continuation. But a lot of times, the longer time we spend down below in this area, it gets a little bit heavy. And if the sellers start to outweigh the buyers, you can start to see some of these buyers capitulate and give up on that long position in their hopes of, catching a short covering rally. 1250 still seems to be holding here. We're getting a lot of volume coming in on there. Buying coming in all over the market here. Probably just short covering though, to be honest. Utilities and energy are still green here. Not by much, but green. Energy's up to 2.5%, so it's up a pretty decent amount, but utilities is only up. Tesla's almost down 11%, Apple 2.5, Microsoft 2.5, Google 3, Amazon almost 4, Facebook almost 3, Nvidia 4.5. Now we're starting to see the selling push in. So they're trying it here. The sellers are trying to break it here. No, so short covering, yeah. So when we see these little pops like that, right? Your short covering means buying, and so these shorts, when you get little pops towards the low, that just means they're taking a little bit of profit, which is why the market pops back up, because they start buying their shorts back. It doesn't necessarily mean that the move is going to halt. It just is letting you know that it, the tempo is not speeding up as fast as it could. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Just taking profit. Right. Right. And then what we look for when they are short covering, and that's what we saw kind of like right here, we saw like a little pop and then it came back down. That's what we look for. When we see those little pops going down, we can just probably assume they're short covering if they don't last. And then if they do last and we don't trade back down to that level that we saw short covering from, we can assume that it was responsive buying. That's how so let's say the market's moving down, right? And it moved down and it get a little pop, right? So it popped from right here, let's say. And I'm not using this price, but we're just doing a, let's say. And so it comes down here and it pops, right? If it holds this level, then, if it comes back down and keeps holding that level, that's going to tell us that a responsive buyer is down here and probably buying this up. If it comes right back down and trades down through, just kind of like it did, that's just telling us that there's not that responsive buyer there, and most likely that little pop up was just short covering, so don't get too excited about it. Right, and it was kind of the opposite way when we saw this in F period, right? F period, when it initially opened up, we got a poor or a weak high. That F high was right on that E open, made us a little bit suspicious. It came down, put in a poor low. It got back above this 10. We saw it pop and it came back down, but never actually came all the way back. And I mean, honestly, it was probably a mix of both short covering and new money buying, but you can see it fizzled out. And that's probably why it was a mix of both. And you didn't get any initiated buying here. And so right now the market is looking for initiated selling. We know there's selling up here, right? We know that. And we know there's no buying up here. So this is considered an unfair high. And so what we're looking for is this going to be considered an unfair low, or are sellers going to come down and start to sell this, right? And we are seeing, if you look, we're seeing some more volume come in here, 7,000 volume. And this is what I like to see on the downside. Like I say, like you have this big chunk of volume and it slowly starts to taper out. And then what we want to see, see a nice little chunk. It's a little bit harder to see on the full volume profile. And that's why we have this one. As we come down, if we see a nice little chunk start to form, that tells you there's some interest down there, and could possibly be some initiated sellers coming in down towards the low. There's 500 lots sitting on the 3 now, and then 300 lots sitting on the 00. So you are seeing buyers step up on these lows realistically that that weren't there before, because no one really bought the 3 earlier. They were buying the 5, and then they bought a little bit above, where they kind of stacked those orders on the 4,200, and we never traded down there. Apple's coming down still. The volume's still not as bearish as it's just they're just not initiating as they could, right? This is just notice how slow the tempo is down here. But if we start to break the low and break yesterday's low, then the tempo could speed up to the downside because you could start to get a lot of liquidation. So hey, what's up, Tommy? You know, just out here making the market our bitch, like always. So there's still 469 contracts on this 3 here. Only have 2 lots left. I took most of them off at the 5 because I don't trust the downside yet. Nasdaq's getting just a smackaroo. So watch how they trade the 3. Big seller. Ooh, somebody just came in and just took them all. So watch for it to hold. Oh my Dom. Yep, every order that was looking to buy, somebody said deal. So that tells us that there's an initiated seller down here, right? And if he can't get any help or can't get enough contracts to break this low and buyers still hold, then there's probably a possibility of a short covering rally. But price is just hanging out down here. Typically, you'll see a little bit of a bounce. We have our weak spot here. So that will kind of be this is where we'll look for capitulation from this big seller that we know that's initiating a spot down here. And so if we get back above this 859 level, there's good odds that we return back to our initial value. Yeah. Our value inside of value. No, well, that's a made up term. I made that up today, so. Bitcoin just taking a bath still. It's getting ready to break those these lows from Monday. Yeah. There it goes. So they're breaking the low. Let's see, excuse me, let's see if we get any follow through or any correlation with the ES here. So they're breaking the Monday lows, Bitcoin is, but the ES isn't yet. Come on, you can do it. Hello? I can. Yeah. Yes. So right. And so what I'm looking for here is here, let me drag this over. Right. So then when that starts happening, especially like right here, because we just have, we have, like you said, nothing except for back in March. So what I'm looking for here, I'm kind of remembering this balance area. And if we break this low, I think the target, I mean, will become this low, but then probably this weak low down here. And exactly. Exactly, yeah. Because it's just so long ago, so it's really hard to just be like exactly. Yep. And yeah, and it would just cause, yeah, it would be too much. Yeah. Yeah, and so we're just, I mean, being careful down here because we can assume, I mean, anywhere down here really, but we can just assume there's probably responsive buying down here. And we can assume also there's probably buy stops down here. So people that are short up here where we see the responsive seller, this is probably a spot where they're looking to buy their shorts back because they know responsive buying is happening. And so what I'm trying to figure out here, what I think everyone is probably trying to figure out is, are we going to, as this trend keeps tightening, which way is the market going to break? And for right now, it exactly. Right. Exactly. And this is what I was I don't think you were on, but I was looking at yeah, we're in the low, we are. Uh, I was looking at this, and so this was how I explained it earlier. So we have this red balance is a monthly balance, and then this white balance is our weekly balance, and this is our blue is our daily balance. And so that's how, that's how much the auction goes on. And so I mean you were spot on with what you were talking about. Yeah, it just makes it easier. And then if you just color code everything, because I mean I pretty much look at the monthly, the weekly, and the daily every single day. Well, not pretty much, I do every single day. And so if you just pick three colors that you can remember, for me red, white, and blue is pretty easy. So you're gonna have to find another color though. You only have red and white over there. What's the other Arsenal color? Oh, it's just for white. Oh, yellow. Yeah, I mean that's just who my good friend as a child was a Manchester United fan, and that's how I grew up learning. Yeah, you guys did. Yeah, 3-1. Well, and Manchester United pulled out all the stops this year, getting Cristiano Ronaldo back too. So Yeah. No, he wants to be. He still wants to be performing on the highest level. So yeah, I don't think he'll stay. Yeah. He's like the Tom Brady of. He's like your guys' the Tom Brady of football over there. Ooh, big liquidation there. So watch for the response. We haven't broken the previous day's low. They're selling all over the market here. Apple just broke the low too. Probably what that break was right there. So look. Oh yeah, yeah. He spent like $500,000 on it or some shit, and then Tom Brady's like, "Actually, I'm gonna keep playing." Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't. I would. I would just. I mean, he just pissed because he wasted $500,000 on a ball. I saw that. Yeah, poor guy. Yeah, I don't. I don't even think that he could sell it. I think he didn't get any offers on it, or he got like a couple offers, but it was nowhere near what he was looking
I
for.
don't know what he was thinking. He must. What did he think it was going to double up?
What did he buy it for? $1 million?
Two.
2 million. All right, so we got some single prints above. Let's see if we get some continuation. We're gonna watch this 4201. Where was the offer at? It's hard to really tell. It really looks like the 4200 was the spot that the sellers really decided to push through.
But how much are tweets worth that actually can change the market, though? You know,
I mean, when Trump was the president, I mean, he made me a ton of money, so they were
Well,
worth
like-
a ton.
Elon. I mean, when he tweeted to delete WhatsApp, and download Signal. Signal went up like 400,000%. WhatsApp and the other Facebook one, they tanked. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that just a tweet can move whole markets. I mean, that's power. I mean, that's
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm saying. Like that's so much power when you've got somebody that's so rich that anything that they tweet. I mean, look at Elon. Elon clapped
I
Bitcoin
love that.
by
I
himself.
was I was just gonna say that's called Eloning it.
Yeah.
that's not doing the delete the WhatsApp.
That's why that's why Elon's my boy. Everyone hates Elon, but I mean, really, they just hate him because they want to be right and they want him to be wrong. Well,
I'm sure there's a lot of people.
Resources to be wrong. He's wrong even if he's wrong, he's right.
exactly.
I don't know. I don't want to get hated on.
Hard to
No,
be
you
wrong when
won't.
you have that much money.
Yeah, you won't get. Yeah, and that's the thing is because even if you're wrong, you just buy your way to being right. You're like, I'm right now.
It's
Like-
by your rightness.
It's like fucking Jeff Bezos. He had that new super yacht, and he was like, I can't drive it under this bridge, so I'm gonna break a bridge down. He paid, I can't remember where it was at, but he literally paid the country to take the bridge down and build him a new bridge so he could drive his mega yacht underneath of it.
That was the San Francisco bridge.
It was San Francisco?
I'm just kidding.
No, I think it was in like Greece or something. I can't remember.
Um,
Some some like beach going place.
the people-
So there's yesterday's low. Our chunk of volumes on the 96. This is where we saw responsive buying yesterday. Let's be careful here, but we still got these single prints above. Watching this 201, see if we can stay below it. Actually, it's really like the 4200. It really is like 4200. Pretty decent response there. Let's see if it can close the singles. 38 contracts on that low. So that's just telling us there's not a lot of initiated selling down there. That's all that's telling us. Right now we're back inside yesterday's range.
Which, no, I was gonna say the worst is was what's his name from Facebook who bought like a mile worth of beach in Hawaii. Like a bunch of people that have been living there for like 1,000 years. And, horrible about it. They don't have land titles like most states. I guess it's different somehow in Hawaii, but he was able to strong arm these people into so he wouldn't have any neighbors, because he doesn't want any neighbors.
Mm.
What,
Yeah, because in
mile-
Hawaii you can only purchase like land if you are a native of Hawaii.
yeah, he somehow was able to, do something and beat the shit. Not buy the land and give it to the people. Do something cool for the people. Nothing like that.
I mean, I don't understand why having, so much money in your bank account does you any good. That shit for something.
Yeah. I don't know. You should look a little into Elon. I don't know. I got fence on Elon.
That's why Bezos built himself a penis.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the Amazon symbol is, the big penis. This is a smiley face, not smiley face, my penis. Don't tell me you guys haven't noticed that.
The New York City mayor proposes a $99 billion to upgrade New York City. Come on. Where are you going to get that money at?
Huh.
Michael Burry just tweeted.
I think he's hoping Elon will reply with bet.
He said this is the problem the last 18 months, negative 850 billion in direct stim checks, 400 billion in cash out refis, 1 trillion plus in forgivable loans, 250 to 500 billion of them are probably fraudulent, over 4 trillion indirect, etc. What recapitalizes that the consumer now? Higher wages can't do that.
What?
He's basically just saying that we're fucked. The prices raised too fast, and people aren't going to be able to afford anything here pretty soon. And higher wages isn't going to change that. Being able to make $16 an hour at McDonald's isn't going to save you. Basically, what he's saying. But he's pretty anti-establishment, and he's not a huge truster of banks, also. So, he's normally pretty. I mean, he's normally pretty on, and he has pretty good timing. A lot of times, even though he did short the shit out of Tesla, and got, he paid the ultimate price, the iron price for
Was
that.
it?
Michael Burry.
Oh, yeah. He's a punk.
Michael
Burry, the Big Short guy, the guy that pretty much made a bunch of money off the housing crisis and got all the credit for calling it early.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I mean, he almost missed out on it because it didn't happen. And he started that bet in like 2007. And really the crash didn't come until the end of 2008, 2009. And so, he was almost wrong. There was a lot of times he actually had to do something with the fund that he used to run where he basically sent a letter to all the investors saying that you can't pull out your money because he needed their money to be able to maintain his position. His investors were probably super happy after the market did crash, but still, that's like I said, timing beats power, and precision beats speed.
They said it again.
Timing beats power and precision beats speed. I might be saying it backwards. Conor McGregor said it. Maybe it's precision beats power and timing beats speed. I think it was that. And that's a great, I mean, it's a great analogy for the market, even though he's talking about mixed martial arts. When he says timing beats speed, think about all the times that you've looked at something like, oh, this motherfucker's going to go down. You get short, you get stopped out. A couple days later, it's way below where you thought, where you wanted to short from, but you just got in too early. So the timing is really what got you, or the speed and the timing is really what got you. But if you would have had better timing and not focused so much on speed happening right now, you know, could have had that good opportunity. That's like all those guys on YouTube that are always saying the market's crashing, and then the next day, you know, like, I mean, literally on Sunday everything was like the market's gonna crash, and then Monday, boom, we rally up on short covering, and then yesterday all the videos are we're going to the fucking moon, the bears are dead, blah blah blah, and then here we are right back down at the bottom, and it's nothing serious. This isn't anything crazy. It's just normal rotation. The market's balancing after a liquidation, you know, so. The thing you have to just pay attention to is the human psychology. The fear that's in the market is what can really put, you know, the market, or get that continuation of the market to get imbalanced. But for right now, the market's still holding a trend to the upside, and there's honestly no reason, um, no reason to go into full panic yet. Even though I still think that downside is probably where we're going. A lot of times, like Jim Dalton says, the market has to rally before it can break. What are you saying, Tommy?
Would that have been a good fade trade then from IBAR, where if it broke below the previous low and then came back into the range?
Yeah,
Got short there with like a real tight stop at the bottom of I.
I think so. Like, I actually was
If it
looking at
didn't
that
go, I could have cut
96.
it, but would that have still been a decent entry?
Yeah, because it's a low risk opportunity. So even if you lose the trade, you know, the
You're only
opportunity.
risking a small amount, aren't you? A couple of
Exactly.
points.
And so like the trade here would have been to get back in as we entered back into that H period, and then your stop would have went here, and then you would just be targeting back up into volume, which is up here. So pretty good risk to reward trade there. And especially because the tempo is so slow coming down, even when we broke the low, it just kind of flushed and then came right back. That's just a little correction of inventory. The downside is probably still the right side, and that is, you know, a decent fade. But as long as you're able to go on a fade trade with, you know, minimal risk, or be able to at least have something close, that way you're not like, you know, you're not looking to get long here because you'd have to put your stop all the way at the low. And then you're looking at, you know, over 10 points or about 10 points of risk. And where are you going to trade back to? You know, possibly up here. That's a 2-to-1, but the odds of it coming back up here are pretty slim. Like, well, slim right away. You know what I mean? It's definitely still go up,
Down
but
to, yeah,
you'd have to sit there
the
for
way
a
the
minute.
market's going, it's been moving down, right? So you're kind of it's more hope, luck.
Right. But that's definitely the space to take a long trade, because we know responsive buyers are there. So on a bigger scale, when we're thinking about those things, we got slow tempo. You look at the internals. I think, you know, the tick had been coming up after making this, you know, 1,000 tick low, which typically represents us getting a little bit too short, especially on a balanced day like today. So typically, I mean, not always, but a lot of times you'll see something like that. And then even here, we can see from where here's where it breaks. So you get 1,000, negative 1,000 tick, the selling starts to come on, but the tick starts to go positive, and now the selling is starting to get less and less here. Then boom, that would be my target right there.
So when you if you took that trade from the bottom, where would you have targeted with it being a fade trade? That's kind of sometimes where I don't know sort of how far to target with the fade sometimes.
What I try
Like
to
just
do,
the next closest, smallest volume cluster, or
right. So that's where that's where I'll be looking to target. I mean, look, there it goes right back up there. Must have heard me saying that it's not going to go back up. It's like,
I wouldn't
bullshit.
have aimed for up there for shit. No way. Especially on my fade, I would have that I would never have aimed that far. I don't think. But I probably would have gone for like, I don't know. Seems like there's a little shelf at 205 or something.
Yeah, 205 was our was a good level from yesterday. And then I think that would have been good. And then as you're getting in these trades, especially when you're running a fade, so let's say you get long here, your target's here, as it gets close to your target, you want to be ready to cut because it could just drop. But if it doesn't, you sometimes on a fade trade, you want to let it ride a little bit. And a lot of times I just trail those up.
A fade sometimes could turn into like an actual turnaround in the market.
Exactly. It could be the bottom of the auction.
Yeah, you could have had the perfect entry. Cut it early, and then you're pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of like if you have two lots and say your stop is like 3 points, then if you take your first lot at 3 points, then now basically you got a free trade for whatever happens with like
exactly. That's what I love to do when I'm like normally when I'm trading crypto, like if I'm buying into crypto, once it gets up like 100%, which typically tends to happen in crypto, I take half off and then the rest of the trade is free, so I can feel a lot more comfortable just letting the trade work itself out. And same thing with stocks too. I've done that a lot. Buy 100 stocks, it goes up, take some money off the table, and then
makes the emotion out.
Exactly. But I will say, it's important to pay yourself. So, sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's going to go. You're going to hit big wins, but it doesn't necessarily mean just because you made the trade free that you want to let it come all the way back and take your stop. If you start to see weakness, you just cut it. And if you were wrong and you thought you saw weakness and it cut it and it kept going, well, now you know that what you were looking at, wasn't weakness, or maybe it was showing weakness, but it, buyer stepped up. There's nothing wrong with that. It's key to remember to pay yourself. You don't want to go to work all day and you get up early in a trade and then all of a sudden you're just sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm good. And then comes all the way back down the end of the day, hits your stop loss and you're flat and you just spent the whole day on the computer and now you made no money. I'd honestly rather be negative. I fucking hate when that happens. And sometimes when the market gets really volatile, it's just like almost impossible to trail up something like that because your fade trades will give you this and they'll be like, and then they'll go, and just that's just something that's hard to catch, especially hard to sit in. Because yesterday it was nice and clean, right? Remember when we came down here? E came down here, F didn't take that E low, and really it never came back. There was no volume down here. It came back up into volume and then boom, just took off. Just gave us
trying to make another run.
Up or down? Oh, down. It looks like, yeah.
The structure looks weird at the top there. It looks weak with the F, G, and H.
Yeah. I doubt that is going to hold for the rest of the. I mean, but today we had Microsoft and Google earnings, so a lot of times people are going to be taking profit before these earnings, just in case, you know what I mean? Because if these earnings come out and they're bad, you could see, we saw Netflix, which is kind of like our first tech stock to report, first, FANG stock, they're probably going to get removed, but it's, I mean, they've just been getting just clapped. Like, I mean, Netflix is back at.
It happened with Netflix though for such the bad reaction. Like, has that many people cancelled their subscriptions of Netflix?
Netflix's earnings are always shit every single time. It was just the guidance ahead that they gave.
They tricked everyone, right?
Well, they just the
Projected more than what it was actually coming.
They
Those-
preempted. They
yeah,
preempted.
they tried to front load everything, assuming that you know, kind of the whole issues were over, and we got to remember, you think about some of the stocks that are getting these boosts because of COVID. Netflix was definitely one of them, right? Because everyone was at home all the time, so they're just watching it. Kind of like Zoom, right? Zoom is another one of those, and I mean, you know, same idea. Like,
We're the only ones left, mate.
you know, yeah, we still use Zoom, and I mean, people use Zoom, but it's not getting the move that it's not going to be valued up here like it was. I mean, even where's Chipotle? What's Chipotle's thing? Was it CFTC?
Netflix like doubled their subscription price, didn't they?
They're going to, yeah. What's Chipotle? What's the ticker for Chipotle?
Does it work if you just type Chipotle?
Yeah, I just don't know how to spell Chipotle, so it doesn't help me.
CHIPTOLE.
Chip. Chipotle, that's right. This is, to me, this is just mind blowing. I mean, look at Chipotle, strong as ever, right? Still not looking bad. Yeah, it's pulled down from the highs, but just balancing on a monthly level and still a lot higher. For some reason, this company is just super strong, and that's something that I don't really understand. I don't know why they're so valued so high. There was another one too that was just a bullshit company. Oops, Wayfair. Right, and they were just getting smacked as well. People were stuck at home and just started buying all this bullshit online, and then now that they're back at work and they are back at work and don't have any money, so they're definitely not buying shit anymore. And remember, a lot of the times the news is what's lagging. So once we start hearing about it on the news a lot, it's already too late. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times. That's why everyone gives Jim Cramer shit all the time.
Isn't that the old adage, buy the rumor, sell the news?
Yeah, buy the rumor, sell the news. Or like Warren Buffett would always say, buy when others are fearful and sell when others are greedy. Trying to see a lot of stocks pick up the downside here. Apple's almost back down to 250 or 2.5%. Google's 2 point or over 3 now. Amazon 3.75. Tesla's 11%. Facebook 3%. Nvidia 4.75. Look at some of these bigger names that are. And Apple today literally just looks, you know, the profile looks almost exactly the same as the market. It's you know, just basically looks like a B profile that's short covering, and if it starts to break the low, the 158.07, the rest of the market will probably follow suit. You got 200 contracts back on the 4,200 again here. I like that 196 level. Below that 196, if we start to get some volume, there's a good chance for continuation. The 196 level look like a level where impulse level. And look at the Bitcoin futures here. You know, something very similar, right? On the monthly, we have, you know, kind of this B profile starting to form, but we're still making higher lows. You know, we just haven't made a higher high on the current month, and we're getting down towards the low. So we can kind of expect, you know, some possible buying down here on Bitcoin around, you know, 32 to this 38 level on a bigger scale. You could see some people start to absorb, you know, below this 29 level, below this previous low, because we've made a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Below this level is where it starts to get, you know, pretty slippy, and you can kind of see where the volume's at. Right, most of that volume's down here in the 8,000 mark. And this is me, I'm down here just waiting. Fucking, I'm gonna have them all. As soon as they get down there, I'm gonna be like Ash from Pokemon. Fucking Pokeballs everywhere, just scooping up all the Bitcoins. Because I think if it comes down here, there's gonna be. On general and stocks DM, yeah, it did look like a pure liquidation today. Yeah, that's what we were saying. The profile was looking like early on, was just looking like a B shape, which is indicative of short covering. Right? What we just got to make sure or to watch out for is if this 45-degree angle keeps starting to form, you could get shorts getting trapped down low, late shorts trying to initiate shorts on the low where responsive buyers are lurking, and get caught just like yesterday and get that short covering rally towards the end of the day. And this I high is a mechanical high as well, right? Right off that H half back in the point of control. Apple still hasn't broken its low yet, but it is close. Getting down there. Looks like people are just buying the low. Poland said gas from Russia is not flowing via Yamal to Germany 9 minutes ago. And the French just had an election. I think that Macron won. Is it most time market makers moves when retail's going long, market makers are short? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, most of the time you'll have the market makers, the dealers, you know, absorbing the opposite way. That's why we get a lot of times, like let's say the market's getting down, it gets a little bit too short. You got to get a little bit of a correction before the market can come back. Apple's getting near these lows here. I'm watching Apple like a hawk right here. I can't even remember when the last time Apple had a day. First. 14th. J period opens up. A lot of times J is a correction of inventory period. So if we start to see some upside, you know, be careful if you're short down here, because a lot of times J normally is like a steam blow off. He won with 58%. There are liquidity providers that take their profits here. They are liquidity providers that take their profits. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because they have to, because they're the oil that, you know, makes the market move. Because if there wasn't any market makers or anyone taking that dealer aspect, you'd have, you know, you'd have some trades here and then some more trades here and then some more trades here and then some more trades here, and the market would just jump around. Be very thin liquidity if there was no dealers, market makers. What do you mean he won with 58% all stars? What does that mean? Starting to pick up some tempo on the downside here. I'm looking at that 96 level. I want to see if the buyers are going to step in and try to support that. If not, there could be some more downside below it.
Howell's getting close to low.
The next level down below this low that I have is like 78. I don't see a lot of support below this until we get down here. There's some old single prints that I have marked. Still seeing buyer support down here though. The 400 lots, look at that, 400 lots sitting on the 96. Wow. Apple's getting close. Flush it. Absorption down here still. Remember, we're watching that 96. We haven't traded back down to it yet. That's where most of the liquidity is sitting at. Not really seeing a lot of buyers step up right here, though. And it looks like sellers are trying to sell this 4,200.
Would you count that I as like excess on the bottom, or?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That J high is mechanical, the I high is mechanical, HFG high mechanical, you know, so there's opportunity on both sides here. That's why, you know, you really got to be careful down here at these lows. Back above that 4,200 here. Seeing all the volume coming on this 4,200 level. Only 38 lonely contracts down there on that low.
$38 to buy.
They were traded on the bid. There were sell orders down
Okay.
here. Back to the 4,200. Finished up 8 points. Nice. 3-point loss on 3 lots. It's tough. I mean, at least you stopped it there, though. That's the thing. A lot of people would let that keep going. Many people believe that market makers or some think it's a myth. Or they're stupid. I mean, you can literally fucking... I mean, what? They must have never heard of a COT report. Bookmap shows 38,000 there are buys. 38,000 where at? Oh, not on the... Oh, yeah, yeah. Not on the scene. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Bookmap. I mean, I do like the idea of it. I just think people use it too much, too far out. You know, like they're looking at like some of these. You'll see like, especially sometimes on crypto, you'll see like these huge buy order, sell orders, right, or huge buy orders, but they're so far away from price that they just don't matter, right? We're only focusing on what's going on right here. If you're day trading, that's what you're really focused on. Because if you get in a trade here, you don't need to. You know, we're not looking at like I'm not going to get in a trade here and be like, oh, these sellers are going to sell. So even if it comes up here, I'm still going to hold my short. Right? That's just, you know, idiotic. If the market travels back up here and there's this big sell order and we get close to it, I want to see how it trades, right? And if it trades and these sellers actually are aggressive and sell the bid up here, then I'll try to get on board and trade back down to where this, you know, where that big volume chunk is at. But you know, just knowing it's almost like too much information. Yeah, there's a lot of spoof, especially in crypto. Uh, account. So they fixed that J high, right? J high was mechanical. They fixed it now. Volume's still about 14% less than it was yesterday. Definitely an increase since the open, but still not as much as it was yesterday. What do we have? Today. Oh, there's a money supply report today at 1. Order, it must already came out, 1 Eastern. Let me look at the report. Yeah, mostly, yeah, I would say most of them are most of them are you know, traded with some type of algorithm. And that's why a lot of times, you know, they do that. They move them around, but they make sure that they stay, you know, X amount of ticks away from current price so they don't accidentally get scooped up by a bigger player. The money supply came out today, was prior was 82.9 billion, today 59.4 billion. Increase in that. Tomorrow we've got at 5:30 in the morning, international trade in goods, wholesale inventories, pending home sales at 10 Eastern time. The oil report should be a pretty decent report tomorrow. Might move the market, especially with oil being back over $100. And then Thursday, we've got the GDP, jobless claims, Fed manufacturing, Kansas City Fed manufacturing. And then after the market closes, we get to see the Fed balance sheet. So Friday probably going to be, and at Thursday after market, we got Apple and Amazon earnings. So. That's what you noticed too, DM? Yeah. So, a little bit of buying here in the market. Starting to see green all over the board here. Apple's catching a nice little bounce here. See if they target that. What are we in? We were talking about 20 and 10 earlier, right? Let's talk about the bottom. Let's watch this 10 level. If it comes up there for opportunity to reoffer. Maybe even the 1250 again. 10 to 1250 will be our level up there.
Seemed like a short-lived bounce.
Yeah, I think that there might be a chance for them to try to resell it up here. Because if it gets above that 1250 by much, they'll probably end up taking that eye high. The eye high looks pretty mechanical. But they haven't really had the juice on the upside at all, right? Even we've seen that these 3 times here, they tap, tap, tap. But the next time we get close to this, you know, how many times can you knock on a door before somebody opens it? All right, guys. Well, it's 11 o'clock. Market's starting to get a little bit slow. We're not really seeing much. I think there's just a lot of anticipation from earnings that's going to be coming out after the market closes today. That could give us a little bit more insight. Look for a reaction. If let's say Google and Microsoft have bad earnings, you're going to be looking at Amazon, Tesla, Facebook, some of these more tech stocks for sympathy or correlation, right? That's what I'll be kind of paying attention to, seeing if they're going to get that the sympathy play, and then there might be some opportunity to play some Apple options based off of how that goes going into their earnings on Friday or Thursday, I mean. I think crypto is pretty much in the same headspace. If we take a look around the market, you can kind of see, pretty much everything is down here getting clapped. Luna's still leading the way down, and BNB and Sol are actually, starting to catch their feet a little bit or catch their breath a little bit higher than everyone else, right? So Sol and BNB tend to be a little bit stronger than some of these other ones. But other than that, make sure that you guys are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan, and I will see you guys all in the Discord.